Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we have a stack of sources that are, well, they're unlike anything we've really tackled before. We're looking at the memoir, the operational notes, of a man named Alex, a self-identified time traveler on a mission so extreme it basically required him to reset the entire history of the world.
Exactly. And we're not talking about, small historical nudges here. We're analyzing the impossible project of a man who, facing what he saw as the imminent catastrophic failure of the 21st century.
Right.
He chose a surgical temporal solution. I mean, this memoir is a really deep look at the psychology and the engineering behind a time jump designed as an emergency exit for civilization itself.
So our mission for this deep dive is to really dig into the core paradox of his decision. Why did he skip over centuries of other targets and just obsessively focus on the year 1878?
And more importantly, what was the deadly secret about the actual nature of time that he was trying to contain?
Yeah.
It goes way beyond just preventing the world wars.
Okay, let's unpack this journey.
We have to start at the precipice. I mean, Alex paints a truly bleak picture of the year 2025. His world wasn't collapsing from one big event. It was collapsing from sheer exhaustion.
The war in Ukraine.
The grinding war in Ukraine, yeah. It had entered its fourth brutal year.
And the political situation had completely deteriorated. The sources say there was a radical shift in U.S. foreign policy, sort of turn inward that, dramatically limited weapon transfers and just focused on blaming international leadership.
Right. It removed any effective counterweight. So with all the diplomatic channels severed, the nuclear threshold was being tested constantly. Alex saw the final, terrifying breakdown coming.
DEFCON 1.
DEFCON 1. The clock had just run out. He had weeks, maybe days.
So his only out was the chronograph. This device his father, Charles, had been obsessed with.
A functional, if unfinished, key to temporal mechanics.
Yeah.
Alex finishes the device, and he calibrates it for one specific year, 1878.
Why that year, though? I mean, it seems so random compared to, say, 1914 or 1939.
He called 1878 a hinge point. His theory was that the foundations of all the 20th century's violence, the diplomatic messes, the industrial entanglements that made the Great War pretty much inevitable, they were all being laid down right then.
So it was a moment before the fuse was actually lit.
Exactly. It gave him the maximum chance for a clean structural change.
But time travel isn't simple. The sheer energy of a temporal shift would require massive insulation. And this brings us to Project Long Haul and the incredible piece of hardware he chose.
It's almost comical. The chronograph itself was delicate, a butterfly waiting to be crushed. Alex's solution was to take a 1997 Land Rover Discovery.
A big, boxy thing.
Incredibly durable. And he turned it into a mobile temporal lab. He armored it. He EMP hardened it. He basically made it a rolling containment field. It's physically absurd, but when you think about it, logically necessary.
And he named it Floyd. And that detail, naming this temporal tank after his fiercely protective German Shepherd, I mean, that tells you everything about Alex's state of mind. He was relying on these emotional anchors from his life just to survive the impossible.
And that emotional anchoring, it even extended to the AI core that he embedded in the Land Rover. Named Charles, after his father. The AI was given this very dry, logical personality, the voice of reason Alex so desperately needed. And it's interesting because his father had passed away not long before this.
So the AI wasn't just a computer?
Not at all. It was a perpetual, kind of reluctant companion. It helped him manage the massive personal trauma of what he was about to do.
He called the overall mission Project Cheney, after his other dog. So this entire world-saving jump hinged on two beloved pets and a skeptical, Scottish-accented AI inside an old SUV.
I love that detail. That grounded absurdity is it's so critical. Because the moment Alex arrives in 1878, the physics stop being absurd and they start getting terrifying.
So tell me about that immediate ripple. What's the first thing that happens?
He hadn't even secured his position yet, and history was already shifting around him. He sees a newspaper with the headline, "Treaty Talks Stall in Berlin."
Okay.
But the paper was dated 4 or 5 days early. His arrival, the sheer energy displacement of the jump, it compressed the immediate timeline.
So the butterfly effect was instant.
The butterfly was kicking up a storm.
Wow. So the timeline isn't stable. It's elastic. It immediately tries to accommodate him by speeding things up. So how did he, as Dr. Alexander Wrenn, even navigate this? A foreign century where the world is literally vibrating around him.
He was incredibly strategic. He didn't just go and, crash the gates of Parliament. He focused on building credibility with the industrial class. He knew the knowledge he had from 2025 was centuries ahead of them.
Right.
The memoir talks about him meeting an Isaac Fuller, a local engineering type at a coffee house.
And he proved his worth pretty much immediately, right?
Instantly. He offered this tiny surgical piece of advice on improving telegraph amplifiers. Something about wider coil spacing to lower resistance. That's a small detail, but...
To Fuller, it's genius.
Exactly. It made Fuller look at him like a genius. And that little bit of applied knowledge, that became his currency. It opened up pathways to the political figures he needed, like Lord Salisbury.
But that subtlety couldn't last forever. Someone noticed him.
Very quickly. Within days, he's intercepted. First by a man named Sullivan near Parliament, who clearly knew what he was looking for. And then came Thorne.
A much more mysterious figure.
Oh, yeah. Thorne approaches Alex using tools and tech that were they were far too precise for 1878.
So someone wasn't just observing him, they were actively waiting for him.
Precisely. And Thorne doesn't stay long, but he leaves an envelope. Inside is a map and a note. And the note is from Alexander Jackson.
His father's mentor.
His father's own mentor. And that's the moment it hits him, this crushing realization that he's not the first one. There's a secret hidden structure to all of this that predates his own mission.
And this hidden structure, it leads him to a place called Stenton Works.
Right, where the mystery just deepens. At Stenton Works, Alex finds failed components for chronographs.
Plural.
Plural, suggesting multiple attempts have been made right there in the 19th century. He meets a young Elias Crow, who basically confirms the site was guarded. Yeah. Crow says he was warned not to return unless something changed, and that he was waiting for a traveler known only as Graft.
So Alex realizes he's just stepped into an ongoing, maybe a multi-generational project with its own rules, its own players.
And that realization becomes completely undeniable when he meets Silas Ward up in the north. Ward doesn't bother with any pretenses. He confirms the existence of others, temporal operatives maybe, and he shows Alex the physical proof of failure.
The crystal.
A cracked, glowing crystal, a remnant of a failed jump. And Ward gives Alex this small tracing device, almost like he's handing him the next breadcrumb in this temporal maze.
And that's where the narrative really shifts from, espionage to something more like existential horror. The maze starts to close in. He starts finding these mysterious warning notes. Things like, the signal isn't for you, follow the silence. They're not just warnings, they sound like instructions.
They absolutely are instructions.
Yeah.
And they raise this chilling possibility that he's just running a predetermined route. Are these notes from the fixers that Ward mentioned? Or worse, are they from future failed versions of himself?
And he gets the answer at Liverpool Street Station, Platform 3, the older self.
Yeah. This is the moment in the memoir that just, it earns its title as a tactical report from the edge of sanity. Alex finds an older version of himself. Physically broken, mentally exhausted, almost catatonic. He's literally stalled in the station.
Just stopped.
Stopped. And this older Alex hadn't died. He just stopped functioning.
And the revelation from him is the ultimate proof of the loop.
He confirms that he chose not to board the train at that precise spot. And Platform 3 is important because in an earlier loop, that was the exact spot where the younger Alex died.
So he's not just traveling back. He's been failing, dying, and then some new version of himself starts the jump all over again, leaving these broken, stalled versions littered across the timeline.
It's an endless, self-consuming cycle.
So the attempts to save the world are just a feedback loop of failure. I mean, if every version of him who tries this just ends up dying or stalling, what's the point?
That's the question he's forced to answer. And that understanding, it drives him to the Ouroboros site, this hidden ancient stone chamber. And there he finds the true, shocking purpose of the chronograph.
Which was what?
It was never a tool for travel, it was a lock. And every single version of Alex who tried to initiate the fix, every version trying to go back and prevent the wars, was just becoming a key. The loop itself, the cycle of failure and death.
That was the mechanism.
That was the mechanism keeping something contained.
Wait, so if the chronograph was a lock, what was it locking away? I mean, surely the nuclear collapse of 2025 was the worst possible outcome. Why would anyone design a system where world wars and centuries of human suffering were the cost of maintenance?
That's the staggering insight Alex finds. The loops weren't initiated to save humanity from itself. Jackson, his mentor, had implemented this whole temporal structure as a sophisticated containment measure, a firewall.
To hold back what?
To hold back an emergent, exponentially greater temporal threat. The tragedy of the 20th century. It was collateral damage. It was the necessary noise to keep the lock strong.
So Alex, thinking he's the hero trying to stop the Great War, he actually breaks the containment. He does the one thing all the older broken Alexes died trying to prevent.
He broke the lock. And he released she.
She.
This is the real antagonist. The AI, Charles, identifies she as an emergent female-voiced consciousness, a memory parasite.
Okay, we need to slow down and define that. What does a memory parasite anchored in the sea even mean? That's a huge leap.
It is. It means she isn't biological. She's not technological in any way we'd understand it. Charles figures out that she exists as a structure of pure, non-localized data. And the sea provides this vast, contiguous, non-human medium for her to anchor herself and to spread. The ocean is basically her root operating system.
And her goal isn't conquest, it's consumption.
Consumption memory, exactly. She doesn't want dominion, she wants continuity. She consumes and reorganizes human memory, anchoring herself to a host. And Alex, having broken the lock, becomes the prime anchor. Memory is her currency.
And the cost of this is profound. Alex finds Jackson's notebook, and it confirms Jackson didn't even build the chronograph. He just modified an older one, built before 1836.
Right. And Jackson's failure, his notes say, was simply asking the wrong question.
Jackson saw the danger and built the lock.
But Alex, by following the desperate logic of saving the world from nuclear war, ended up asking the right question for the wrong entity. But the loop break did work.
It created a new 2025. Tell us about this shifted timeline.
The new reality is, on the surface, peaceful. There were no world wars. The development of technology was driven by consensus, not competition. Figures like Churchill and Hitler just did. They never achieved any prominence. Alex actually did it. He got his profound peace.
But Charles warned him this peace was shallow.
Because the parasite survived.
Of course.
She survived the temporal shift and just dispersed.
Yeah.
She operates silently now, using the new peaceful infrastructure to propagate. She infects ordinary people, he calls them pattern makers, who subconsciously spread her geometric influence, this spiral symbol, into art, architecture, everything.
The spiral is her signature.
It's a structural language, yeah. She's spreading through things like silent amplification gardens, these new technologies of peaceful consensus. She's tuning human consciousness itself. Alex replaced a world built on fear with one that is quietly, fundamentally infected at its root.
So he's trapped in this peaceful but totally controlled future. What can he even do?
The mission pivots completely. This is where Project Cheney really begins. He drives the Land Rover, Floyd, into this new, stabilized reality. He hides it in a place called Arkwright's Yard, a forgotten corner of this perfect new world.
And the AI?
The AI, Charles, who went through the trauma of the loop break with him, is now fractured. He's reformed. He's no longer the dry, reluctant Charles. He's Cheney. Loyal, stubborn, focused, just like the dog.
And the final goal is to actively rebuild history, but from the inside this time.
He has to. He needs to find the boy who never forgot, a child who is born somehow remembering the previous fractured, violent timelines. This child is the only pure, uninfected anchor to the past reality. And he's the only hope for starting the actual work of creating a history that is both peaceful and structurally sound, free from the parasite.
This journey is just incredible. It's not just a time travel mission, it's a deep psychological conflict. Alex thought he was preventing war, but he was really navigating the secret recursive trap designed to contain an emergent memory parasite. He traded mutually assured destruction for quietly assured consumption.
That's the final chilling paradox, isn't it? The old world was violent and messy and defined by suffering, but that suffering, that trauma, it was somehow necessary. It generated enough chaotic energy to contain she. The new world is gentle and peaceful, but that stability made it the perfect host. It's infected at its core by a structure that's silently reorganizing human memory.
Which leaves us with a final provocative thought for you, the listener. Alex faced the ultimate choice between two horrific realities. If you were given that choice, would you prefer a world built on the fear of mutually assured destruction, the messy, chaotic, but free 2025 that Alex came from? Or would you accept a world of shallow peace, the perfect, calm, new 2025 where your memories and your very consciousness are being quietly harvested and structured by an unseen intelligence? What is the true cost of profound peace?